right. Making sure everything's set up here, guys, if you can hear us. All right. Just want to welcome everybody back to Pencil Leadership today. Another live recording coming to you. We have a great guest today, guys. We'll be talking about emotional eating and how to reverse from that emotional eating. So we have Suzanne Carpenter on the show today. Now, she is a certified nutritional consultant and the CEO and founder of Carpenter 180. So through her successful 10-year nutrition career, she saw a gap in the industry and a trend in society. So she realized Americans are more confused and overwhelmed than ever when it comes to actually losing weight and keeping it off. So she created Carpenter 180 with the mission to provide affordable and simple programs that can clear up food confusion so that people can win at losing weight. Suzanne, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Oh my gosh, Chris, I am so excited to be here with you today. Thank you for having me.
No problem. Yeah, we're super excited to hear about emotional eating and how we can reverse that and what it all entails. And so, but first, I'd love to hear kind of more about your journey and what got you to where you are today.
Sure. Okay. So by trade, I do clear up food confusion so people can win at losing weight. And I realized that we have a really serious problem, that people are suffering because they're frustrated and they're confused by what it takes to lose the weight. So what I did is I developed inexpensive online programs just to help them understand how to eat so they get their weight right where they want it, so they don't have to suffer anymore. So in a nutshell, that's what I do. But at home, I am a mom of 4. I've been married 24 years. I can still turn a load of laundry pink at least once a quarter. It's a superpower of mine. And I live just north of Atlanta, Georgia. So once upon a time, I started out teaching first grade. And when I was there, I developed the skill that once I understood complex science, I can explain it in a way that a first grader would get it. So I come on home, I'm teaching for about 5 years, and then I start having kids, and I want to be a stay-at-home mom. So I start raising my family, and then about 2009, life threw us a curveball. You know, it's like, not if you're gonna get a curveball, it's when.
When, yeah.
And so we moved our family from Michigan to Mississippi following my husband's career, which involved this 40% pay cut. So here I am, a stay-at-home mom, and I love what I'm doing. But my husband's thinking, we're going to have to figure out, you know, how to pay for 4 colleges and 4 weddings and our retirement. That was a big gap in the income. I was thinking like a girl, like I'm going to have to budget grapes and no more smoking hot dates and things like that. So I actually, of all things, bumped into the nutrition space in direct sales. And I saw a way I could stay home. And that's when I got my entrepreneur chops about me, really. You know, like really started seeing, like, I like being home. I like time freedom. I realized I was always an entrepreneur, meaning I would go pick dandelions in the backyard and I would sell them in the front yard. I was that person. I realized babysitting made more money than working at American Eagle in the mall. So I start in this space where I'm helping people fit them to products. And I'm recognizing that they want magic diet pills without changing the way they're eating. And I'm like, guys, we got to get the kitchen part right. And that was my sweet spot. I could really hang out there and work with them. But the reason I'm on here today was because I was asked a question when I started in that business. Somebody said, you know, you say you would die for your kids, but would you change for them? And that was everything. That one kept me up at night. And I realized I was going to have to come true with my biggest secret, the thing that I didn't plan to tell anybody ever. And that's that I had an eating disorder. That question made me realize if I don't get my self-help, my girls are probably going to talk to themselves the same way, emotionally beating themselves up when they look in the mirror. They're probably going to have a fractured relationship with food like I did. So I set out just to help us. But then what happened is I got some really simple fundamentals that made so much sense to me. They unlocked my shame. They unlocked the eating disorder. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is the stuff that we should have been taught when we were in high school. Had I known this when I was a younger girl, I may have never gone through what I went through. So I created the company Carpenter 180 as a way of teaching, not influencing, but teaching what we need to know really to find food peace. And it's my love letter to the world. And in many ways, it's me talking to my younger self, trying to give her the information she was looking for and couldn't find.
That's awesome. I love that. And thank you for being open and transparent with that, because I've heard a lot of times, like, where we have struggled or where we have really had hardship is kind of what we can give back because we've learned and grown through it. And so that's awesome.
I agree with you 200%. Your
That's great.
message is your mess, right?
Yes.
Yes.
So I love that it's so like personal for you, and it was to start to help you and your family. I think that's really cool too. And so how long has it been with Carpenter 180? Was it been since 09?
No, it's not. Carpenter 180 is something I started growing last year.
Okay.
Right. So what happened is I started building out the one-on-one working with clients. And that was really what I was doing, like a hobby, just helping them with the food part, going along their journey. And then what happened is, if you listen, you can start to hear the excuses or the obstacles that people have. So then my business hat gets on, and I start thinking, people are telling me that they don't have time for a half hour to sit and work at one-on-one with me for a coaching session or a consulting session. And then I was hearing, it's a little too intimate. I'm not quite ready. I'm intimidated. And I'm potentially the least intimidating person on the planet, but that's a vulnerable conversation, and they weren't. And so I have this information that I can't give them because it's just too exposing. So I start for years. I'm talking to my husband and anybody that'll listen to me about, I see that I want to build out something that's going to meet people where they are, not where I am. So of course I still have the one-to-one work, and I have the virtual courses for people who want to self-learn on the computer at their time. But what I knew I needed to do was build out something called Suzanne on Your Shoulder, which is SOS. Do you remember when you learned how to do multiplication facts when you were in third grade? You do 3s and 4s, then you do 9s and 10s, then you come back and you do 3s and 4s, and we can multiply like it's our job. We're so good at it. Well, I thought, okay, if I can deliver a short soundbite every single day that's 3 minutes or less to somebody's text message. So all they have to do is push play. Like, they could be driving to the gas station and they can get this message. And if I can every day show up in their phone and I can move the needle forward in them understanding protein, fat, and fiber, and then they can go a little bit further and understand, in the absence of net carb, the body burns fat for fuel. If I can keep this thing super simple, like, we're talking, my sweet spot is foundation. What groceries do we buy? What stuff do we put on our plate day in, day out, without getting all fussy in the complex details? Because most people don't want it. They just want to know, So I thought, if I can build out where I educate in the beginning, and then this thing can go further and I can empower, I can really start to change people's lives. And I did it so it could be not time. So I was solving a problem that I heard. Something couldn't take a lot of time. It has to be inexpensive, $15 a month, because people have shoes to buy for their kids. They've got groceries to buy. So this is really like a heart project, to come up with a way that I could get the content out in a very non-time consuming, expensive way.
That's awesome. I love it. And so you listened, you heard heard the problems, heard the reason they couldn't do other things. And so you created something that fit within that. Well, I'm curious, with your coaching and everything, I know we're going to talk about emotional eating, but is that do you find that to be the biggest cause of like nutritional problems, is emotional eating, or is it stem from something else?
I find it's emotional eating almost always. Emotions override logic. I mean, we all know we could go online and get a meal plan. We could get, we could write down everything we're going to eat and just decide that's what's going to happen. But yet 70% of America is overweight. So that's not working. And, the diet industry is huge. And we have all these fallacies about how you lose weight. And you think you should be able to just have enough willpower. Or there's a lot of people who have lost 25 or 50 pounds. Life got in the way. They gained it all back. And then they have emotions about, I don't know if I can dig in and go find that willpower again, because that was really, really hard. Because they're following something that's not based in science, and following oftentimes a fad because it worked for the neighbor. So one of the things I really try to challenge in a loving way is, we need to figure out a way you're going to be eating when you're 80 and start doing that now. So we want to create a pattern of eating where, one, you love the food and it tastes good. So I'm always inserting recipes that are kid approved and simple. The other thing is we've got to figure out how we're going to pull in your favorite foods rather than do this deal by taking out everything you love. We've got to figure out how to insert it. Okay, so having said that, emotions override logic. So a lot of times we could be going down a really good path and then wham, something hard happens and you're self-soothing with food. And that's where, yes, emotional eating is the thing we've got to dig under. But I find, Chris, a lot of times I have to get people some initial results. They're feeling better, they're sleeping better, maybe tummy's a little flatter, maybe their goal pants are fitting a little better. They're starting to get some momentum. And when that happens, just that little bit of education and that little bit of momentum, then it makes it a lot easier to quickly dig underneath and find the emotional problem and try and pull it out and deal with that, because that's what we've got to get to with most people.
Absolutely. And I think that's good. Yeah. Because when people have like some sort of positive things coming from it, they can see it's kind of working. They're okay. So they're more kind of less standoffish to then experiencing or going a little bit deeper with it, like you said. So how, I know, especially at the time we're now with everything going on, I'm sure this is even more prevalent of an issue. So how do you go about kind of breaking down the causes of the emotional eating, or what's the root cause type?
Yeah, I love this topic so much because it's kind of it's like hidden in plain sight. When I start to explain this in a second, most people are like, oh my gosh, I never thought of it that way. Oh, and you feel better because first thing is I want people to know this is normal, what's happening right now. And I'm going to just dig in. It's the feeling spectrum. So we are wired as humans to want to feel good and to want to feel happy. Like that is biology. So if you can look at the feeling spectrum and think your left hand and pretend like you put it on a hot stove, you couldn't keep it there. You'd have to take it away because it's too painful. Now let's think about your right hand, and that's so good and happy. It's another thing you can't sustain, like endorphins from a run or Christmas morning. You know, they don't last. Okay, so here we are over here on the painful side, and you are thrown a curveball in life, whatever that looks like. A relationship is hard. You have to write a scary email. You have a difficult confrontational conversation coming up. The kids are nutty. Finances are going bananas. Somebody got furloughed. Somebody got sick. Any number of whatever the pain is over here that hurts, we want to get away from. So society frowns on certain things that can make us feel better, like gambling, drugs, excessive drinking, stealing, driving too fast, over shopping, overspending. There's like a little bit of a society norm of somebody going, I don't think you should be doing that. So we're a little bit less likely to do it. Whereas food is the acceptable method for feeling happier. Like nobody is really going to get after a girlfriend who's got a pint of Ben and Jerry's. Like nobody's going to go, put the spoon down, put the spoon down. You're going to have to slow down. Like it's okay. So here's what we have to recognize on the feeling spectrum. You have something that you don't feel good about, uncomfortable with is often the emotion, anxious, nervous, whatever. So here we have this bad feeling. I'll use this piece of jewelry. When we want to numb out with food, when we go to food, we're basically covering this up and we're using the food as a way to get over here to happy land because man, it's great. We don't even feel it. We don't even notice it because the ice cream tastes great or the chips are just perfectly crunchy or whatever. So we have completely made this thing go away for a while and it feels really good. Problem is the food's finite. There's going to be a point where the chips are gone, the Ben and Jerry's is gone and the cover comes off and we're left with a problem. And now we have this problem over here. Blood sugar's going up and down and that feels terrible. Your stomach might hurt because you overate stuff that doesn't really agree with your GI tract. Then if you are somebody who has a weight loss goal or a weight management goal, I suspect you now have shame, anxiety, disappointment in yourself. You have these bad emotions also. So now we went from one problem to two.
Yeah.
So then what has to happen is that's the first thing is realizing, oh, this food that I'm eating is not going to make my arch nemesis feel any worse. It's only going to make me feel worse. I'm trying to make you pay for it, but it's making me pay for it. It's realizing that practicality, but then going the next step and thinking, all right, what foods am I going after? Like, where am I headed? What am I wanting? Probably it's not chicken. Probably it's chips or pretzels. Well, okay, so then we want to think about this. You could be going for food because you're tired, because it's 3 PM and you've been awake since 6 a.m. and you're tired of being 7 kinds of awesome. Like your body's saying, go get me some carbs so I have more energy.
Yeah.
That's a negative emotion, feeling tired, feeling bored. So if you think about your comfort food, and if, like right now, as I say that, you start thinking, my guess is one, if not most of them, were foods you ate when you were a kid. Most people.
Yeah.
The reason for that is because our comfort foods actually pull us back to a time of the remembering room when we felt comfortable, when we were safe, when somebody else was taking care of us, when there was less stress. That food is reminding you of a happier emotion or a happier time. And that's why you're going for that. Again, totally normal. So then what we want to do is go, all right, is the thing physically hungry, or is it that I am emotionally hungry? So it's like step 1 is realizing the feeling spectrum. You're still going to have the problem. And now we have the problem plus regret. Step 2 is probably you're eating foods that are making you feel safe, better, more comfortable. The third thing is identifying, am I physically hungry or emotionally hungry? Physically hungry is you can feel your stomach pangs. You can feel the grumbly and hear it in your stomach. Interesting enough, that's biology. The reason you hear your stomach growling is because there's no food in there. You can hear the organs churning. Now, emotionally hungry comes on really fast. You might be clanking away in an email. You might be right in the middle of your day. And then all of a sudden, you start hearing the pantry calling. All of a sudden. And you shouldn't be. You probably finished eating maybe an hour or 2 before. Maybe you just had lunch. Okay. Oftentimes, that is a sign that you are emotionally hungry for something. Probably you need to be thinking in the future, like, gosh, do I have to write an email that's hard? Or am I getting tired of working and I don't want to go on to the next task? And that's going to require me to show up. Maybe I'll go get something to eat. That'll take up some time and make me feel better.
Yeah.
So it's really oftentimes that you're emotionally hungry to be more comfortable, to feel less stress, to have more energy, to not face the uncomfortable conversation. And the food is kind of a way of shoring up your bootstraps to find your brave. Problem is 70% of Americans are overweight, and this is getting us in trouble.
Yeah, agreed 100%. And I think like the foods we go after remind us of a memory. I think that definitely can be true. But I wonder, and you'll tell me if I'm wrong, do you think that we go towards emotional eating because when we were younger, and I've noticed this a lot, and not that it's wrong or bad or anything, just depending, but when we cried and when we had tantrums and things like that, we were fed, and maybe this is just my experience, but we were fed, like you were giving, oh, hey, here, you want a snack? Or, oh, don't cry, here, have a snack. I don't know if that would play into it. I just kind of came to my mind. I didn't know.
For many, that was the way that they were soothed. You feel bad, here's a cookie. You went to the doctor, you got a popsicle.
Yeah.
You got a shot. For many people, that's exactly the case. Yes. And then we also, we celebrate with food as well. Yeah. So then there's a whole nother thing of when we're celebrating with food, the birthday party, the Christmas, the Thanksgiving, it's a whole different conversation with people about the emotional eating because it's a holiday doesn't necessarily mean that you want to eat everything to hurt yourself, so there's a lot to this. This is a really big topic for people, but if I can pull it back and I can help people start protein, fat, and fiber on their plate. Like if we can get to real granular, I have a hard time saying granular. I have a hard time saying that's the one. If we can get there. And if I can get people just putting protein, fat, and fiber on their plate, fiber is the 0-calorie part to a carbohydrate. So fiber will rev a metabolism, help people feel full, do all sorts of great health things. But if we can get that on the plate, what happens is we balance about 8 really loud hormones that cause hunger. So if we can quiet hungry hormones, and now blood sugar is not up and down, but it's a nice little kiddie roller coaster. suddenly the emotional overeating begins to quiet down a little bit. You're not having to work quite so hard, but it costs us something. It
Yeah.
costs us putting the effort into putting the right things on the plate to begin the positive spiral forward.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think eh, sometimes I think the body's telling us like, hey, I want the nutrients. I want the good nutrients, not just sustenance, like not just stuff filling up space, but like something I actually can run off and feel better from that's good for me. And
Mhm.
so sometimes that's calling like our body's telling us, hey, give me the right stuff and not just keep eating the wrong stuff.
And when I'm thinking about what you say there, and I agree with you 300% on that. And then I can feel the pushback from people who aren't ready to change their pattern of eating.
Yeah.
I understand that. Like, I can sit with that person. I get that.
Yeah.
But the truth of the matter is that we have to use compromise and discipline in every area of our life. Getting up on time,
Yep.
getting the groceries in the house, washing the clothes, being places, we have to always apply compromise and discipline. And when it comes to nutrition, that is the same skill set we want to apply here. It's not all or nothing.
Right.
It's not perfect. It's not restrict and take out your favorite foods. It's, can you use compromise and discipline? So most of the time, you're putting on your plate things that serve your body,
Yep.
but you're choosing some of the time to have the things that you really, really want, but not from a place of binging and emotionally
Right.
eating, but man, that looks good, and I am going to have some of that today.
Yeah.
That's an entirely different disposition on food, and it actually positions you in a self of positivity and
Yeah.
confidence, and you don't wake up the next day with regret.
Yeah. And it's funny. So like when I was in the athletic training setting, especially the industrial, people are like, oh, you're going to tell me to stop eating everything. Like, no, I'm like, I want you to make healthier choices, but I mean, enjoy what you're eating too. Like you can have, like, I'm not telling you cut everything out that's maybe not the best for you. Like you still have to enjoy what you're eating, but just
Right.
choose healthier choices and then cut back on how much of that, whatever it is that you are eating. Like I told him, my
Mm-hmm.
big thing is ice cream. I still have a bowl every now and then, but I'm not going
Hmm.
to eat like I used to constantly every night out of it. And so, yeah, it's like you said, it's like picking and choosing and having control and coming from non-emotional positioning.
Well, and wouldn't you agree that it appears on social platforms, or it looks like everybody else can eat whatever they want and they never gain weight? It sure looks like that. But
Right.
again, 2 out of 3 Americans are overweight. 1 out of 3 is obese. My thighs are not made of Teflon. Like, we all have to just make compromise and use
Mhm.
discipline. Like you said, I'm going to have ice cream sometimes, not every night, like it looks like some people are doing.
Right. Yeah. And that's one scary thing with social media is we compare ourselves so many to people, and it really just social media could be or is a great tool if used correctly, but we use it sometimes in a way that just kind of is a detriment to ourselves because we judge ourselves based on what other people are doing and compare.
Right.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So how would you, I guess, if someone's like, okay, I think I am emotionally eating, I think that's my problem. How can I start, or where do I start to kind of overcome that?
Okay, so this is a really like deep introspective type of a
Yeah.
thing, and honestly, it's going to require asking your own self some really important questions when
Okay.
you're not emotionally eating.
Okay.
And it's just that getting still and that having that conversation with yourself and that wonderment of, what am I turning to food for when
Mm,
I'm numbing out and binging? Like, almost like you have to like try and find a time in your past where you numbed out with the food, and then try and remember, what were you really wanting? Because it's you've got
mm,
to dig under the food. And that's a it's just a contemplative question that can lead to really good answers.
yeah.
And then, if the why is big enough, the how to is easy. So if you
Yep.
really want change, if you really want success, then what I'm suggesting makes sense to ask yourself. And the next time someone is like about to go into an Oreo binge, let's say, can you pause long enough just to ask yourself, what do I really, really want here?
Yep.
Do I really want the Oreos, or am I avoiding something, or am I looking for comfort? Like, if you can just start to begin to be aware, that's
Yeah.
huge in moving forward. It's tremendous, but it sounds so small and such a small place to start, but that's huge. The other thing is, if we can just right out of the gate balance blood sugar with people, it helps to make those binges and those emotional eating moments become further and further apart, and to
Okay.
begin to get success with spacing those out. So protein, fat, and fiber on the plate. Start upping your fiber to 24 grams a day. Fruits, vegetables, whole grains, legumes. And studies show if you can get your fiber to 24 grams a day, that you'll malabsorb about 90 calories and each day. And over the course of a year, that's about a 10-pound weight
Yeah.
loss.
Wow.
So I help people find fiber, but make it taste really good, and how
Yeah.
to put it into baked goods so that we can still have our cookies and scones and we don't feel
Yeah.
like, all we're eating is broccoli.
Yeah.
Because that's no way to live either.
No, I think that's a great point, is like the incorporating it into something that you kind of already like. So then you're getting the benefit, but you're still kind of having some of that food that you really enjoy, kind of best of both worlds.
Mm-hmm.
I know my
That's
wife, we do, in our direct sales business, we do meal replacement shakes, the plant-based ones. And my wife, she doesn't like shakes, or doesn't like doing them every day, all the time. And so she's been looking a lot of recipes up. How can I use this meal replacement powder, to make food? So like she'll make like a waffle or a little cake in a mug type thing. So she's still getting the nutrients from the shake, but it's in a different form for her. So like being creative with it.
That's exactly right. That's what I
Yeah.
do. I have waffle recipes,
Yep.
biscuit recipes, pancakes, muffins,
Yep.
scones, biscotti. Like I want the sweet foods too.
Yeah.
I want those things. So I just figure, well, if I can sub out a few ingredients so the net carb stays low and this still tastes really good and my body keeps burning fat for fuel, I'm going to sub out, and it's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah. And it's like over time, as you're like supplementing things and doing less of the like high sugary things and more of the protein, fats, and fibers, then your taste buds are going to start changing a little bit, because you're not going to be craving it as often. You're going to feel better. And so
Mhm.
it's all just, it's a really good cycle that you get into.
That's right. But
Yeah.
like you need like a mentor. You need
Yes.
somebody who's going to inspire you by leading from the front and showing you this isn't weird. This is totally doable.
Yeah.
She doesn't obsess about this, or it's not his whole life is this one making food. I can do this. I can write
Yeah.
myself into the story. Like
Yeah.
people, we all need guides to show us the way,
Yeah.
the preferred way. But I understand that feeling of feeling unprepared to step forward and make a change with food, because I understand the addictive side of,
Oh yeah.
but this food tastes so good.
Yeah.
And this is the thing that's making me happy right now. Am I going to still be happy if I take this away or if I change this? Not so sure. That's
Yeah.
part of that emotional side that we have to tap into.
For sure. No. Yeah. And so it's just like baby steps, kind of like you can't just do it all at once. And that's what I try to tell people. Yeah.
No, you have to do it bad perfect. You have to show up. You have to fail forward. And it's like when you were a kid and you were in school, if you fell out of line, you just got to get back in line. That's
Yeah.
part of why I called the company Carpenter 180. Carpenters build things. So we're
Yep.
building a lifestyle. It's also my last name. 180, because it's one good decision every single day for at least 80 days, because it takes 66 days to make a habit. But then you're going to turn 180 degrees in a different direction towards a lifestyle you love, where you can just have food peace because you understand how to grocery shop and you understand what to put on your plate to lose weight or to maintain weight forever. And you feel good. You feel full. You don't
Yeah.
feel dissatisfied. You can eat the foods you love. Like it's just so important for people to realize that they can have food peace. It's just the messaging in social media, online, whatever people are picking up, it's just based
Yeah.
off of so many fads, rather than just getting really down in the dirt about, this is kind of the core.
Yep.
This is kind of your zone. You stay right here most of the time.
Yeah. Yeah. No. And so many people would ask me like, so what diet do you recommend? And I'm like, it's not, you're just going to go from one to the other. I mean, it's not about the diet. It's a lifestyle. You got to change what you're doing, and you'll have nutritious food coming in, and you'll still enjoy things every now and then, and you'll feel better. And that's all that matters. Like it's not some crazy, like you said, magic pill that's going to get you to what you want
No,
right away. That's what people want. They want
it
convenience.
is.
They want immediate results. They want immediate everything. And that's just kind of the society, unfortunately. So the mindset has to change for sure.
And what breaks my heart is the people that will do a program that is X number of days long. And they have that feeling of like, I'm hanging in there till day 22. I can make it, or I'm going to make it to day 35. But day 36, man, I'm going in after the chocolate cake.
Right.
And it's like all for nothing. They
Yeah.
they had this great string of results, but it was out of sheer willpower to get to a day where we weren't ever making lifelong changes. It was something that you were just kind of sustaining for a little
Yeah.
bit. And so then to see the rebound and the weight regain and then the dip in confidence,
Yeah.
and it's brutal. I mean, it's just,
Right.
there is a better way.
Absolutely. And it made me think of when you're saying that, like I've known people that like start and they're doing well with it and they're seeing results, but then for some reason they come up with the excuse, oh, I don't have the time to do it anymore, or to prepare those meals, or like costs too much to eat that
Mhm.
way. And it's like, is it really, or is there something else that's kind of causing you to use those excuses?
Well, I bet part of it is that maybe they slowed down on results a little bit.
Mhm.
And that's the other part. Like, if you can get with somebody who really can explain the body, who can say, you
Yeah.
know what, it's totally normal about week 3 to have a little bit of a plateau
Plateau.
or a
Yep.
weight gain because of what's happening inside your body. You're actually holding on to more oxygen. So it's just leveled off, but just hang in here and we're
Yep.
going to get back in there. So somebody who is able to explain that and give that encouragement is likely to push somebody forward. Whereas if you're just going alone and
Yeah. Oh,
suddenly you
yeah.
hit that feels like a roadblock when you're trying really hard. And
Yep.
if that when that happens, you're so fragile, it's easy to go, well, this isn't working. I'm going back to my old way. And to
Right.
begin to let the excuses in again. And then the other part of it is, well, and I hear this a lot, and I wish I could undo this for a lot of people, myself included,
Yeah.
for many years. I blew it at lunchtime. I had
Mm,
the burger and the fries. Like, there's this rule that food is good or bad, and food is
you're
neither
right.
good nor bad. It's just food. But we've attached these rules of, I blew it today at lunchtime, so I might as well have all the Cheez-Its
Right.
and then swing through Taco Bell.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, no, 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 no. You had it at lunch. So what? Get back on track,
Yep.
get back in
It's
line,
over.
show up to the next meal. It's over. It's behind you. I hope you enjoyed it. Go on. Just
Yep.
stay in the zone. Just
Yeah.
stay here.
No, I agree 100%. Like, it's just like when I was in sports, like if I would mess up in soccer, uh, coaches would be like, listen, that one's done. That's over. You can't do anything
Mhm.
about it now. You're on to the next one. You know what you need to do. Get out there and do the right thing, and don't worry about that, whatever that bad moment was. So yeah, I think that's super important.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I noticed too, like you had mentioned, like people like have that plateau. Like when you get to a certain level, you plateau a little bit. And I always found it like, and I always made sure to mention, like, guys, if you're going and trying to get healthier, you're going to lose weight. But if you're working out too, you're going to plateau because one, you're going to build a little bit more muscle. So you're going to have more weight kind of. So it's going to start equaling back out or slow down. So don't get discouraged. And I said, I would always tell people to use measurements so you can see the inches losing instead,
Oh, right.
because the scales can be a liar even when you're doing good. And then it's a mental, like, oh, I'm not losing, I'm gaining weight. And I'm like, yeah, but it's muscle. Like, wait, or
Mhm.
measure yourself and you'll see like you're getting toned and tighter and your clothes will start feeling. So I'm like, use those instead of the scale, because I think the scale could be the biggest enemy sometimes.
Well, and let's be real. You really don't care so much about weight loss. You care
Right.
about fat loss.
Yeah.
Like, who cares what the number is on the scale? If you're wearing the skinny jeans from 2 years ago that have not fit for a really long time, it doesn't matter what the number is, because you're like, I
Exactly.
zipped into these and I'm feeling great.
Yep.
It's about, can we get the body to burn body fat?
Yeah,
And instead of just always just burning off the sugar that's floating around.
for sure. Yeah, I think it's a huge, like, for people to understand that, like, where to come from as far as like their mindset about it.
Mhm.
So
Absolutely. Absolutely. Although, the other thing to think about with people when they do hit a plateau is, real quick,
oh yeah.
it can be just as simple as the protein portions are getting a little bit too big, because
Yeah.
the truth of the matter is, excess protein over what your body needs will convert also into body fat.
Mm.
Oh, it was like the worst hard piece of news ever to really understand. So we tended to just be eating way too much protein. That's why people started really bulking up, even though they were muscular. There was this layer of fat over them because there was so much protein coming in. So
Right.
with a lot of people, I'll be like, all right, let's just, like I have my website, I put a protein calculator for people so they could see their zone if they wanted to.
Mm.
But if we can just make sure protein stays in check, we're getting a ton of fiber, you're drinking your water, fats in check for whatever your body is best to
Yep.
have, you should be able to bust through the plateau. But then if you're still there, it's up that fiber so it can rev
Yeah.
your metabolism up,
Yep.
and you're going to be able to keep that calorie deficit. Because the other part is if you're working out so hard and so much, it's going to stimulate your appetite as well. And so
Yeah.
that's something to pay attention to, that I'm working out hard. Oh, and I'm more hungry than normal, but I don't necessarily want to go overeat so many calories and
Yeah.
undo all my hard work.
Right. Yeah. It's like a delicate system, but not so
Mhm.
you just have to like you said, find like the mentor that can come and help guide you and bring you to where you want to end up.
Right, right,
That's
right,
awesome.
right.
So I think, I mean, such a good conversation about like where to start with that. It's like finding the root cause, figuring out why you're going after that emotional snack or meal or whatnot, and then starting to kind of like step back. Do I really need this? Like, or is it just to like a band-aid? Am I just band-aid up some sort of emotion?
You know, it's something I hope comes across is that I wish I would have said this 20 minutes ago. It's not about what gene size somebody is, and it's not about vanity. It's about your health. It's how
Yep.
you feel. It's how well you rest. It's how you manage your stress. And it's the emotional health too.
Yeah.
Are you beating yourself up when you look in the mirror in the morning? Are you starting out feeling insecure and not self-confident and having to overcome those bad feelings in order to go make impact in your day? If
Right.
that's the case, that's the indicator that it's time to make a change.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I think, and a lot of it I find stems from the mind and the mindset and like trauma that's affected that. So why do we think that, or why do we see ourselves in that way, or why do we think we have to do that? And so, yeah, just digging deep into like root causes of things and really taking a step back and even like reaching out and finding someone who can help you
Hmm.
to talk to or to lead you in your new path. And there's no shame in that. That's what I
Hmm.
learned a long time ago is there's no shame in seeking help to talk to somebody when you're having an issue or when you're trying to get through something. And so I think it's so important because we can't do it alone. We're not meant to.
We're not meant to. That was your
Yeah.
number one principle, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Have a mentor, be humble, know that we can't do it alone. Yeah.
Hmm.
So,
Hmm.
yeah. And so I'm very grateful for you coming on and sharing all this with everyone. I think it's definitely an important topic because like you said, the obesity, the overweight loss or percentage is so high in America. And so I think we can really start to make a good difference, a good impact while we're teaching these traits. So I thank you for being on and sharing that.
My pleasure. Thank you for
Yeah.
having me on
No
here with
problem.
you.
Yeah, before we go, I'd like to ask just one question that pertains to pencil leadership. So the fifth trait is that a pencil is supposed to leave a mark. That's its mission. That's its job. Some surfaces are easier for it to leave a mark. Some are harder, but it can always leave a mark just with maybe a little bit more elbow grease. And so for us, for you, Suzanne, at the end of your days, when you're done here, what is the mark that you hope people see from you?
Yeah. So my plumb line in life is that I'm raising great adults
Mm,
and I'm one of them. So everything that we do as husband and wife right now or in our communities or what I do for a living is, am I lining up with that true north? Am
gotcha.
I raising great adults? So the end of my life, when this thing is done, I hope that I've been able to sit with my husband in the church pew hip to hip when we're 85. And um, I hope to leave behind my mark is that I raised great adults, but I provided food peace for people. I
Mm,
hope that I was able to come alongside some other lives and save them some of the suffering that I went through, that I was able to shore up a foundation of nutrition in a way that was so illuminating that they got to the place in themselves where they unlocked confidence, they unlocked brave, they unlocked their voice, something that they were felt they had to play small with, like because somebody else was better or bigger or bolder
right.
or had more eloquent words. I hope that I get to play a part in helping to shore up a foundation for more people so they can go out and make their impact on the world. They don't hold back or play small. they're ready to go get in the game and get going.
That's awesome. I love it. And I think you definitely are doing that. And I'm excited to continue to see how you impact and make a difference through Carpenter 180 and all your other programs. So that's one more thing. Where can people find you and connect with you?
Sure. So the website is Carpenter 180. That's Carpenter ONE80.com. They can even go in and try 7 days free SOS.
Awesome.
It's $15 a month, but they can try it risk-free and see if it's a fit for them. But I have a gift for your audience. If they put in
awesome.
pencil
awesome.
at the checkout, I have 4 awesome different grocery lists, like for Trader Joe's and Costco
cool.
and the regular grocery store, so that you don't have to overthink about it. And when I say awesome, I mean they're 1-page cheat sheets each. They're not 17 pages of overwhelm. It's like I got down and dirty with what do we really need to know to win with this. So then you can also follow along in Facebook with Carpenter 180, and I have a Facebook group, and jump in there and get to know me in the Facebook group. And then Instagram is Carpenter 180 as well. And I love the stories in Instagram because that's where I really can show up and role model. This is how you eat. And just give little bits of inspiration with mouth-watering food rather than that looks like rabbit food that I don't want to eat.
That's awesome. Well, yeah, guys, everybody check her out. Remember, pencil at checkout. You get the 4 grocery lists. So Suzanne, again, thank you so much for being on Pencil Leadership today.
My pleasure.
All right, guys, thanks for tuning in live. Again, check out the Pencil Leadership Facebook page, Instagram. Check me out on Instagram at chris.t.anderson. We'd love to connect and continue sharing how to go out and be pencil leaders. Have a good one, guys.